Hello and welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin, and today we are going through the haunted catacombs of the Ithyphallic metal gods, that is Nile, which you knew because you saw the thumbnail and you saw the title and you clicked on it, so you want to join me on this. So first off, I want to show you Metal Legion magazine. This is a interview I did with Carl Sanders. What's really cool is here, Carl even goes through the whole catalogue. So that's more of a going through what was going on at the time. I'm going to be going through the music and giving you my opinion on each album. So for those, well, the main reason I'm doing the video is, I mean, Nile, I think, are a little less obvious band. I wouldn't go so much to say they were underrated. They're a pretty successful band. But I just feel in the general, people sort of see Nile as this sort of brutal, pummeling band, which they are. But there's more to them. And I don't think their catalogue's really explored enough. So for the uninitiated, Nile do a very not technical widdly for the sake of it, but a very musically proficient take on death metal, with interjecting Egyptian music in with it. So with every album as well, you get a booklet with real in-depth notes from Carl Sanders about what the lyrics are about, the recording of it, and he discovers old instruments that he learns to play to put in with it. You get these sort of interludes with the thing, and they're playing it themselves, and it's just really cool, and really it just adds a whole new sort of texture to the death metal genre. And also what's really important, people forget nowadays, is when Black Seeds of Vengeance came out in 2000s, they set a new standard. They really did. I mean, like, say your Morbid Angel, Death, so on and so forth, set the template, really, or set the standard by which all future albums to be measured. Nile set that new standard. They came along and went, right, this is where we're going from now. You know, this is where new bands have to reach as well. And a lot of people forget that, especially today. So without any further ado, let's go through the albums. Right, first off, you've got some odds and sods. You've got the first original demos and EPs. This was the first official EP they put out, and you've got 3 demos. So yeah, you've got this one here, worship the animal, and you've got Festivals of Atonement and Ramses, the Bringer of War, on both of those on this compilation in the beginning, and that's here anyway. So obviously, if you're new to the band, you get these last. They are very good, worth having in the collection, but that's distinction level. You can get them later. But yeah, first off, I've got to read it out loud. From 1998, Amongst the Catacombs of Nephren Ka, which I'm bound to have mispronounced, but there you go. And I think this is actually the best album to start with the band if you are new to them, because everything's kind of bite-sized. It's only 33 minutes, so the songs are nice and short. You get some long epics coming later on. This is the original lineup as well. I just want to read this out. So you've got Carl Sanders, vocals, guitar, and loads of other odds and sods. You've got Chief Spires on bass and vocals, and Pete Hamora, I think, on drums. So they're obviously rehearsing and gigging like mad at this point, and I think just playing the songs in that stage, they would have had half-hour sets, 45-minute sets maybe. They would have been just condensing it down, and basically giving everyone everything they've got. They had to make that impression, I guess, in a half-hour, 45-minute slot, and that'll be what this album is. So again, I don't think there's a song on here that's more than 5 minutes long. I'm just going to go through the track list in here. Yeah, I think 4 minutes, 17 seconds is the longest track. So in 33 minutes, you're going to get a taster of Nile, I would say this is the best place to go to if you're new to the band, and you're going to get an idea of what's to come. And from here, everything just opens up and expands. Everything you get later on is on this album, but it just opens up, you know. So yeah, I think this is actually a really underrated album as well. You've got Barra Indazu, I think that is. That's got really cool keyboards, like real atmospherics on that one. You've got this real slow, brooding riff on Stones of Sorrow. Ramses, the Bringer of War, is just a tune. I think that's a mainstay in the band's set list even today. And then you've got like this cool Egyptian chanting on Dairash, Craig, Laid. I'm not even bothering. It's in Egyptian, so it would be some ancient dead language that they again, Carl does his homework. He's reading ancient books and scriptures, and he really dives deep into his history and mythology. He also dips his toe into H.P. Lovecraft, the whole canon of that, as we'll cover that when we get to it. So yeah, that's first album out of the way, and then in 2000s, Pete Hamora, he injured his shoulder. I'm not sure how much he recorded on this, but he definitely wrote the songs and did the demos. But the almighty Derek Roddy fills in and does drums on this, and Dallas Tyler Wade joins the band as well on vocals and guitar. I'm not sure who played bass on this album actually, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, Black Seeds of Vengeance comes out in 2002 and basically sets the reset button on death metal. This album is an absolute masterpiece. And let me just quickly have a look at the lineup. I've got my Chief Spires is on this as well. So again, everything is just turned up a notch from the first album. It's a much longer album as well. What have we got here? We've got 10 minutes longer, but yeah. Opening up with Black Seeds of Vengeance, that track again, mainstay in the live band, in the band's live set. They finish every show with it, and rightfully so. It just kicks ass. You're being attacked immediately, like you're being buried alive by a load of fucking rocks just piling on top of you. And then just at that thing when it kicks in, Black Seeds of Vengeance, and that, you know, you've heard it, you know what I mean. It just takes your breath away every time you hear it. It's just the atmosphere of it just comes. It's fantastic. You've got Defiling the Gates of Ishtar. Awesome. You know, they always play that live as well. The Black Flame has got like this slow, atmospheric. It's just punishing and just eerie, and you really do like when obviously with Egyptology. They're going through these old tombs and they're going through these old caves and that. You can you get that feeling with this album. You get that, you know, we're all wearing masks at the moment, you know, where they've got a face covering because they don't know what the fuck they're breathing in. But you get that claustrophobic darkness that going through these tombs as well. And again, a lot of people think this is just all that brutality, but there's loads of melody on it. There's loads of just cool, dark interludes in it, and there's loads going on. And one particular track as well, kind of the closing track, because the last two are, you've got an instrumental and then you've got like this track where it's just all chanting. But the dream of your, you are, it's just you, the dream of your, dream of our. I've got some notes here, but it's a 9-minute epic. It just builds up to this fantastic climax. It's got some wonderful solos. It's slow and melodic, and towards the end, that sort of, you've got this shredding with the solo over the top of it. It's just breathtaking. It's just fucking fantastic. And chapter 4, Transforming into a Snake, is another classic with a another sort of blistering yet melodic solo. And obviously you've got the Masturbating the War God with the orchestration in it as well. And that's something I want to say. Someone make it happen, because obviously Metallica have just done it. Plenty of bands do it. bands, Sons of Apollo did it. They've only got their second album out. Dimmu Borgir have done it. Someone needs to, put out a live album for Nile, and also someone arranged doing a concert with an orchestra. That'd be awesome. With some Egyptian percussionists. Some, surely there must be some orchestra out there or someone they can hook them up with, and with all the Egyptian instruments and that. That'd be fucking amazing. Because there's stuff on these early albums you can tell it's done like on a keyboard, and you just think if this was done with actual strings, it'd be breathtaking, absolutely phenomenal. So, moving on, we've got In Their Darkened Shrines. Again, they pick up where they leave off. This is a bit more of a cleaner sounding album, and also you've got a new drummer. Chief has left the band at this point as well, so you've just got Kyle and Dallas soldiering on. They do the bass between them, I believe, and also you've got Tony Loreno. Phenomenal drums on this. Also, drummer of Angel Corpse. He's actually Megadeth's drum tech now. I don't know why they don't hire him, but I don't know. But what else has he done? A bunch of other cool bands, but yeah, really underrated drummer, and he does a phenomenal job on this. What have we got here? You've got they're firing all cylinders, as you know. Is it Sarcophagus? I think they did a video for that one. You've got like a keyboard passage and like a melodic build up in that. You've got Lashed with the Slave Stick and Blessed Dead, is it? They're two really cool songs. And then the real sort of centerpiece of this album is you've got the title track, In Their Darkened Shrines, is in 4 parts. And I think it adds up to something like 20 minutes all in all. Let me just quickly look it up with the track listing. Yeah, 5, 8, 7. Yeah, you're looking at 20 minutes all in all in 4 parts. And I do ask him in the interview if they've ever done it live. They do one section of it live, I think, but that's about it. He says it's just impossible. So, and then things take a little turn. I think it was after In Their Darkened Shrines, but yeah. So when was that? This was 2002, and this is 2004. Carl Sanders puts out his first solo album, which is Syrian Meditation. Now, I think this is Carl Sanders' masterpiece, musically speaking. Now, it's not a death metal album by any stretch of the imagination, but it's... So you take the little interludes, the little introductions, the little sections where it's all the Egyptian stuff. This is just that, purely that. And this is a really good album, especially in the summer if you're going for a long drive or a long walk. The music is just hypnotic. It really is. It's just absolutely... There's so much going on in this album. And like, when you listen to this, you'll be saying, I don't know why Carl Sanders is fucking around in a death metal band, quite frankly, touring around. He should be writing film scores and living in a mansion somewhere, because he's, don't do that. We need you on the road, but you know what I mean. He's such a gifted musician, and he really, don't get me wrong, he's doing well, but I don't think he's not appreciated as much as he should be. And this is an absolute masterpiece of an album, and only Nile fans are going to know about it. And only a small section of Nile fans probably even going to, people who aren't even into death metal should be listening to this band. You go to that world section of the record shop and think it's a fucking sophisticated, but no one ever picks this up, I guarantee you. David Vincent pops up as well from Morbid Angel on the Forbidden Path Across the Chasm of Self-Realization. Does a really cool spoken word passage on it. I've just finished his autobiography, actually. It's really, really good. I highly recommend checking that out. So, next up, we've got Annihilation of the Wicked, another masterpiece. And this sees the arrival of George Collias on drums, who I think... who your favourite drummer is, let's go for it. You could say Dave Lombardo, you could say Pete Sandoval, you could go Gene Hoglan. You can go on and on and on. But whoever your favourite drummer is, George Colliers will match him. I mean, you only have to type him in on YouTube and see it. He's just a fucking animal. So you've got George Colliers on drums and John Vezano on bass on this album. He looks a bit like Ross Dolan from Immolation, and he looks like a bodybuilder. He's got fucking massive arms, proper beefy. So I remember him back at the old Nile days. I think this is the breakthrough album for a lot of people, and this is a lot of favourites, a favourite for a lot of people. I personally, Black Seas of Vengeance for me, but this, let me do this properly, hold on. So, these 4 albums are the golden age of Nile. I think pretty much everyone will agree with that. This pretty much ups the ante on the brutality levels. The sort of Egyptian interludes, they're still there, still present, but they just kind of take a back seat and the brutality comes forward. So let's have a look. Cast Down a Heretic tune. Sacrifice onto Sebek is, excuse me, that's quite a regular opener. If you've seen Nile live, if they don't open with it, it's within the first 3 songs, and rightfully so. It's got a cool little intro. I'm trying to think of highlights for this one. Lashed with a Slave Stick, that was, I mentioned that on the last one, didn't I? And Blessed Dead. I misread my notes there. But one thing as well is once the band had got bigger with In Their Darkened Shrines, they were getting a lot of backlash. And it was Carl's first sort of brush with being kind of famous, but he was also seeing, you know, the band getting hate, which kind of fired him up a little bit. And this was kind of like their fuck you, and hence the title Annihilation of the Wicked. But yeah, a lot of people list this as their favourite album, and yeah, rightfully so. It's not my favourite, but I understand why. And I think a lot of people, these 3 albums is their favourite. They're one of those bands, your favourite album by them is normally the first one you've got, in all fairness. So, moving on, the band leave Relapse Records and move on to Nuclear Blast, and then put out Iffy Phallic. This is my first album with the band. I knew who Nile were. I think it was around this time I started seeing... Do you remember Relapse put out a DVD with a load of live stuff? It was like some concert over 2 days, and there was loads of bands on it, but you had like 2, maybe 3 songs of each band. That was when I first got made aware of Nile, but this was the album where I jumped on. I want to give you a bit of a close-up of that. So you see all those people dragging that statue up, erecting that statue of some old Egyptian god. And I've got as well, I got it signed as well because I'm a nerd. And I did try and get George's autograph, but when I saw him sort of over there, he was on the phone. And I thought, well, I'm not going to interrupt him while he's on the phone. And then when I looked, he walked off. Never mind. Next time, maybe. So, yeah. This is where I think with every album, they've kind of built up the Nile sounds. And now they're kind of just, we know who we are. You know who we are. You know what you want. You know, it was kind of, this was the first album of Nile simply being Nile, which is fine because they no one else sounds like them. You know what I mean? So the Egyptian thing is kind of, it takes back foot on the last album. It comes back on this. It's really like cinematic and epic. On the opening track, What Can Be Safely Written, and the closing tracks, Even the Idols Must Die. They kind of really turn it up on the last track and closing track, and then the rest of the album is pretty straightforward death metal, in all fairness, with the odd lick here and there, fair enough. Yep, I like this album. It's it kind of falls in the back compared to the first 4, but it's it's decent enough. I mean, put it this way: Nile never did a bad album. I mean, I've been in bands myself. I never went beyond demo level really, and I'm sure people watching this have been in bands and whatnot. But yeah, look, I think we would all like to be able to put out an album as good as Nile's Worst. Even they never really put out a stinker of an album. They just put out an album that maybe wasn't as good as that one or this one. Or, you know, it's more of a case of how close to the bullseye do they go with each album rather than them completely slipping up. But yeah, next up in 2009, Carl does a sequel solo album. I saw the band do a what's it called? Like a stream during the lockdown. They all had a catch up, and it was live on Facebook. And he said he was working on a new solo album now, as well as he had 4 new Nile tracks in the can. And which he said at the time, this is obviously a few months ago, but he said even you guys haven't heard these songs yet. And I think he was still putting some finishing touches to them. So that's cool. This is pretty much more of the same really. It's all instrumentals. Both of his solo albums are all instrumental, by the way. But it's not as good as the first one. It's a good little follow up to it, and it's good. But I much prefer the first album. Cerulean. What is it called? I didn't even give you the title of this one, did I? Cerulean. Yeah, the first one, Syrian Meditations, and this is Syrian Exorcisms. So you kind of get the gist of that. So then next up, again, there's a 3-piece now. I think going forward, apart from the new album, we'll get to that. Dallas and Kyle handle the bass between them, really. This much better than If You Phallic. This is an awesome album. This is a later day classic for me. Just going through Kifar again. There's I remember seeing them once in London, and when this song came on, the crowd just erupted. It's again, ever since this has been like a mainstay in the band's set list, and Cattle Dung Incantation, Permitting the Noble Dead, Descent into the Underworld. Pretty much, this is what I said with If You Phallic. This is Nile being Nile, but this is Nile being Nile, but a bit more on better form, really. This it just sounds a lot more tighter, a lot more focused. Again, they don't really do. They never completely misstep, but it's just, are they more on the ball or not? And this is an album where they are particularly more on the ball. Going forward, next up is At the Gates of Sephu. Now, this is my least favourite album. Everything's where it should be. The first 2-3 songs are pretty good. Again, it's not particularly bad. When I run through all this before doing this video, just to refresh my memory. I did enjoy it when I listened to it, but it's the one I go to the least, really. The technical side of things has really turned up on this, and it kind of there's just a lack of standout tracks. And I remember in the interview with Nile, he kind of said they weren't really getting on at this point, and he weren't happy with how the production turned out either. But yeah, not terrible. If you're getting into Nile, or if you are into Nile and you want to fill in the gaps, it's worth getting, but get it last, is what I'd say with that one. Up next, we've got another solo album, but a different member, is the sickeningly talented George Colliers. This guy did everything on this album. Not only is he an amazing drummer, he's done the guitar, the bass, the keyboards, the percussion, and the vocals. I hate him. I just hate him. So, and he's got a bunch of solo. Start that again. He's got a different guitarist guesting doing the solos on each track. So the only solos is the only thing he didn't do. Kyle and Dallas both do a track each on this, so they're on it as well. Let's quickly bring it up and see if there's anyone else good on this. Bear with me 1 minute. it doesn't matter. So anyway, this album is absolutely phenomenal, and just think it's a bit more straightforward than Nile, and there's kind of you kind of got the atmosphere and the melodies of this focus. Try and reset that. You've gone a bit blurry there. Yeah, here we go. It's a phenomenal album though, and let me just bring up a few of the guest session players. So yeah, you've got Andreas Trapelis, Bob Casonius on keyboards, Dallas. A lot of people I can't pronounce basically, but yeah, the main two are George and Kyle. Right, Apocalypse, awesome song. Shall Rise, Shall Be Dead, phenomenal track. And if you check out that, type that in, or just George Collier's drums, it's the first album he comes where he does a drum playthrough. Brutal as fuck, catchy as hell. But the Voices is the one for me. That is just awesome melody, awesome main riff, awesome groove. Just that. So fucking good. You just can't help but nod your head along to it. But every song on here is just phenomenal. This was one of my albums of the year when this came out in 2015. And I'll tell you what, the next album as well is 2000. Yeah, right. We might as well lead on to this. George, he released like 4 albums in this year. He did this one, Contrarian, awesome album, by the way. I can't remember the first one off the top of my head, but you can look them up. Contrarian. And Demon Stealer, guy from India. He's in a band as well. I forget what they're called. He's got a really cool YouTube channel as well. He covers a lot of Indian bands. And but he did a solo album under the name Demon Stealer. I can't remember the band he's in. It doesn't matter. But yeah, he did the drums on that solo album. It was a really good album, actually. Really sort of nice classic. It's kind of death metal-y, but he's got like that classic metal feel to it as well. But anyway, we'll talk about Nile. So yeah, up next, What Should Not Be Unearthed. Again, slight misstep with the last album, but those are the gods to test. And this one, I think they found their feet back on this one, but as we'll get to in a minute, this is where things kind of fell apart. But yeah, this one is much more straightforward death metal. Again, you've got a bit of the whole Egyptian thing during the last track, and there's obviously the odd hint now and then, but this is much more straightforward, just flat out death metal album, but not as technical and all over the place as the last album, At the Gates of Sefu. This is just more straightforward, go for the throat, death metal, straightforward songwriting. The main track for me, it's all good, don't get me wrong, but the, what's it called? Evil to Cast Out Evil, which is about my mate, there, here you go, Pazuzu. And we spoke about him a few videos ago, the tribe of Pazuzu. Yeah, they wrote a song about him, how cool is that? Evil to Cast Out Evil, fucking awesome main riff. Fucking cool. So, yeah, really good song. Pretty good album. And unfortunately, this is where things went a bit pear-shaped. Everything went quiet for a little while, and then all of a sudden, bang, there was a statement put out that Dallas had left the band. He'd been in the band nearly 20 odd years, really, best part of it. And what's he done? 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 albums, is it? Well, the only album he wasn't on was the first album and the next one. So, yeah, he contributed a lot to the band. It's a shame for him to go. So, straight away, they announced their new lineup. We'll get to that in a minute. And that they were going to be doing a tour with Overkill. And they were working on a new album. But Dallas fires right back with this Narcotic Wasteland. Now, this is the second album. I know I missed it earlier. But I've not actually got the first album, a physical copy, so I can't show you it. It's hard to get hold of. Like an idiot, it was on the merch stall at Nile gig, and it was labelled Dallas's other band. And for some reason, I didn't get it, and I wish I had. And everywhere I've found it, it's either ridiculously expensive, or their website is it's like standard price, it's like $10 or whatever, but the shipping is more expensive than the CD. So I've kind of been on the lookout for a decent priced copy. But first album's very good. Now, when you see the front cover, you're thinking and it's all about drugs. Oh, this is going to be like a grindcore thing. No, it's not. Straightforward death metal, and there's some really melodic stuff in there as well. Some really good soloing, really good thing. I dare say it's catchy in places. And the same goes for this, really. This is a phenomenal album. And the drummer on this album as well is on fire. I'll want to quickly look him up. Phil Cancilla, who went on to do the new Malevolent Creation album, The 13th Beast. He's since left them as well now, though, but I don't know what he's doing. But definitely look out for him, because that guy is just fantastic on the drums. But yeah, really good death metal, fantastic riffs. A track like Bleeding Swell as well. It's kind of like a ballad in a way, like a doomy, horrible, hopeless ballad, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's some melodic passages in this. One of these songs has even got like an acoustic intro. No, it's well, fully bodied, well rounded, good, awesome death metal. And for some reason I thought it was grindcore when I heard it. There's a track as well on the first album that's really good. I'm just going to quickly look it up because I want to show you some songs. They did a video for... Is it Keeping Up with the Joneses? Or... I think it's Keeping Up with the Joneses. But yeah, really good sort of melodic section towards the end of that song. And there's a few little bits like that as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good job he didn't go with the whole Egyptian thing with the new band as well. He's taken a completely different direction. I think that's the best thing he could have done. But yeah, again, fantastic musicianship, really good songs. Check out Narcotic Wasteland. It's really good stuff. So next up, we had a lineup change in the Nile camp. I just want to quickly look the guy's name up because I don't want to fuck anyone's thing up. But yeah, is Brian. So yeah, now we're at the current lineup. We've got two new members. We've got Brian Kingsland on vocals and guitar, and Brad Paris on bass and vocals. Now Brad was on the tour for What Should Not Be Unearthed. He's been in the band about 5 years now, so he's solid. And the fact that Nile have even used a bass player on the album, because they've just done it as a free piece and just hammered the bass. The fact that that Kyle has actually allocated bass to someone shows you how good that guy is. But yeah, Brian, when it was announced that he was a new vocalist and guitarist, I looked him up and he was in this band. Let me hold that properly for you. Let me focus down. And this is an Entheon with Priests of Annihilation. So I just checked this album out just to see, what it was like. This thing really, like, again, when I say technical, I don't mean all over the place technical, but I just mean really proficient death metal with a black metal sheen over the top. So think like a death metal beef brisket with a bit of black metal spicy rub rubbed in before cooking. Really, really good album. Now, I just mentioned earlier with Narcotic Wasteland that I didn't pick the album up because the shipping was too high. This, it didn't matter. I had to have this, and I paid for the shipping. I was really excited when I heard this album. And I was thinking, right, if this is what this guy can write, I can't wait to see what he does with the band, because the guy's obviously got some chops. And rightfully so, because on this new album, Vile Nilotic writes, I always have to double check and read it properly because there's some. He actually contributed 4 songs, I believe. Let me quickly look at it here. He's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's pretty much 4 songs, like complete, that he contributed to the band. He came to the table 4 new songs, and you think Gary Holt joined Slayer And when it came to recording an album, he was in the studio for one day doing solos, and yet, you know, this guy can't. They let him in 4 new songs. So these bands that get new members and don't let them contribute, I don't understand that. So, and he contributes. Let's get that right. It feels like a Nile album all the way through. The band feel totally rejuvenated, totally refreshed. There are some phenomenal songs on this. Long Shadows of Dread, the opening track. I love it when it kicks in. It goes out all to begin with, and then it just breaks. It's like it just comes to a halt, and then this big riff kicks in, and then as the drums kick in, it's just a groove. And as the groove goes along, you just hear these doomsday bells. Boom, dun dun, bum 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 bum. It's fucking awesome. There's no bad song on this, actually. This is pretty much a perfect album. But Snake Pit, Mating Frenzy, you know, it's just fucking fantastic. 7 Horns of War, again, it's pretty. I think that's a quite slow, brooding song, if I remember rightly. But where is it? Where is the Wrathful Sky? It's just, you've got this breakdown in the middle, and it's like this. It's like this whole percussion-y piece, which George Collius wrote himself. That's right bang in the middle of the song. And then when it builds up, it's just this. The band are so tight. It's just like this real dun, 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 dun. And then it just goes into this. And you could just imagine them doing it live. It's just absolutely brilliant. The Imperishable Stars are sickened. We Are Cursed at the end as well, with the clean vocals. There's, if I remember as well, there's a bit of a like female choral singer. Ah, ah. Like it's a kind of fucking, what's it? It's just cinematic. Is the best way I can describe it, really. But yeah, you can tell the band are having a really good time on this album. And as much as some of these past albums are good, there's just something. There's an energy to this album. You can tell the band are firing from all cylinders. The two new members have obviously interjected a shot of adrenaline into the band. Carl and George were obviously happy having new blood in the band. It's obviously the creative juices are flowing, and I hope they build upon this, because this is like Brave New World with Iron Maiden. It's just the reset button, you know. Everything is back on form, and this is one of their best albums. Absolutely firing from all cylinders. So yeah, first 4 albums are the golden age of Nile, and then I would say definitely check that one out if you haven't. You can pick it up pretty cheap as well on all the usual outlets and places and whatnot. But yeah, definitely check out George's solo album as well. And then I would say I'll definitely check out Narcotic Wasteland. All great stuff. All fantastic musicians. So the first 4 albums are sort of the golden age, the coming of age of Nile. And then I would say these 2, Who the Gods Detest and What Should Not Be Unearthed, and then especially Vile Neurotic Rights is definitely. These are the 2 really good modern day classics, but this is the modern day, masterpiece. So yeah, that's the guide to Nile. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing what I plan to do. I'm kind of going to do Death next. I know a lot of people have done Death, but they're one of my favourite bands, and you've heard other people's takes, but you've not heard mine. What I'll be doing as well, I'm going to be doing Morbid Angel, and then Hate Eternal, and then I'm going to do a few. I'm going to see how the 2 connect together. Dark Angel I want to go through. I'm going to be going through loads of bands in the back catalogue. And then coming up next Friday onwards, a new show that I'm going to be doing every Friday on this channel. My good friend Luke is going to be joining me, and we're going to be doing the Iron Maiden back catalogue. Same thing, what I've done here. Solo albums, side bands, side projects. Bands that have, they leave, they do this band for a little while, come back. Everything Iron Maiden and everything Maiden related, we're going to be doing an album a week. And when we get there, we get there. So we're going to be starting with the first self-titled album, and that'll be going up this Friday. And I'll be doing odds and sods in between then anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching this. Please like and subscribe. It really does help me when you do that. Share it around. And yeah, thank you for your support so far. And yeah, have a good week. See you later. All the best.